I landed in a tree, 20 feet off the ground, tangled in my chute, hanging like a goddamn Christmas ornament while tracer fire lit up the night around me. That's how D-Day started for me. Not glorious, not heroic, just scared shitless and stuck in a tree in Normandy. Name's Robert Bobby Castellano, 101st Airborne, 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment. Brooklyn boy. I was 21 years old on June 6th, 1944. Thought I was tough, thought I was ready. 17 months of training, jump school, combat drills, night drops, the whole 9 yards. They made us into something hard, something mean. Elite troops, they called us. The best of the best. Didn't mean shit when the shooting started. I joined up in 42, right after Pearl Harbor. Patriotic fever, you know how it was. Everyone wanted to get into the fight before it ended. I wanted to be something special, not just another grunt with a rifle. So I volunteered for Airborne. The pay was better, $50 a month extra for jump pay. But really, I wanted the prestige, wanted the wings on my chest, wanted to be able to say I was a paratrooper. My ma cried when I told her. She'd lost her brother in the First War, didn't want to lose her son in this one. But Pa understood. He'd tried to enlist, but they wouldn't take him. Too old, bad knee. You go make us proud, Bobby, he said. You go show those Nazi bastards what Brooklyn's made of. Training was hell. Fort Benning, Georgia. Hotter than Satan's asshole and twice as miserable. They ran us until we puked, then made us run some more. Jump training was worse. Launching yourself out of a perfectly good airplane goes against every human instinct. But you did it because everyone else did it, because you didn't want to be the guy who couldn't hack it. Lost 2 guys during training. One chute didn't open right, streamed all the way down. The other landed wrong, broke his neck. They didn't even stop training for it, just scraped them up and kept going. That's when you learn you're replaceable, expendable, just another body. We shipped out to England in September 43. Spent months there, training, waiting, training some more. Everyone knew something big was coming. You could feel it in the air, the invasion, the big show, the one that would end the war. They briefed us 2 days before the jump, showed us maps, aerial photos, gave us our objectives. We were dropping inland from the beaches to secure causeways and roads, prevent German reinforcements from reaching the coast, cut off the head, stop the counterattack before it started. It'll be a piece of cake, the officer said. Germans won't know what hit them. They were half right. The Germans definitely knew what hit them. We just didn't expect them to hit back so hard. The night of June 5th, we loaded into the C-47s. I was in Chalk 12, squeezed in with 17 other guys, all of us loaded down with gear. Rifle, ammunition, grenades, rations, entrenching tool, first aid kit. Over 100 pounds of equipment strapped to bodies that weighed maybe 160 soaking wet. We took off just after 11 p.m., 2,300 hours military time. I threw up before we even left English airspace. Wasn't the only one. The flight took forever. Sitting in that plane, engines roaring, body pressed against the guy next to you, trying not to think about what was waiting on the other side of that door. Some guys prayed. Some slept somehow. Most just sat there with that 1,000-yard stare, lost in their own heads. I kept thinking about Brooklyn. Wondered if I'd ever see it again. Wondered if Ma was awake right now, praying for me. Probably was. She was always praying. The pilot's voice crackled over the intercom. 20 minutes. 20 minutes until we jumped into occupied France. 20 minutes until we found out if all that training meant anything. The plane started getting rougher. Evasive maneuvers, someone said. Anti-aircraft fire. I couldn't see anything from where I was sitting, but I could hear it. Dull thumps outside the fuselage. Shrapnel rattling against the metal skin. One of the guys near the door said he could see tracers, streams of them, reaching up from the ground like fingers trying to grab us out of the sky. 10 minutes. We stood up, hooked our static lines to the cable running along the ceiling, checked each other's gear. Tommy Morrison from Queens was in front of me. Good kid. Always had a joke ready. He turned around and grinned at me, but his eyes were scared. We were all scared. "See you on the ground, Bobby," he said. I nodded. "See you on the ground." The plane lurched suddenly, hard banked to the left, throwing us against each other. Someone screamed. More flak, closer this time. I could smell something burning. "Go, go, go!" The light turned green, and we were moving, shuffling toward the door. No time to think, just muscle memory and training taking over. The jump master was yelling, slapping shoulders, pushing guys out the door. Tommy went, then the guy after him, then me. I launched myself into the night. The prop blast hit me like a hammer, spinning me sideways. Then the chute deployed. That beautiful jerk that meant you weren't falling anymore. You were floating. For maybe 3 seconds, it was peaceful, quiet, just the sound of wind and my own breathing. Then the world exploded. Tracers everywhere, machine gun fire, bright green and yellow streaks crisscrossing the sky, planes burning, falling, men falling, chutes on fire, screaming. The C-47 behind us took a direct hit, just came apart in the air, spilling bodies and debris. We were supposed to drop at 800 feet. High enough to give us time to orient and land safely. Low enough that we'd be on the ground before the Germans could react. We were at maybe 400 feet, maybe less, and we were scattered all over hell. The formation was gone, blown apart by flak and evasive maneuvers. Men were landing in trees, in rivers, in villages, on German positions. Landing everywhere except where we were supposed to land. I looked down and saw trees rushing up at me. Big Norman hedgerow trees, thick and ancient. No time to steer, no time to do anything but brace. I hit the branches face first. Pain. Branches tearing at my face, my hands, my chute catching, jerking me to a stop. I slammed against the trunk hard enough to see stars. When my head cleared, I was hanging maybe 20 feet off the ground, swaying in my harness, completely exposed. I could hear German voices, close, maybe 50 yards away, maybe less. Shouting, engines, the crack of rifles. I froze, didn't breathe, didn't move, just hung there like a target at a shooting gallery, waiting for a bullet to find me. Tracers were still lighting up the sky. I could see other chutes caught in trees around me, maybe a dozen of them. Some were moving, guys trying to cut themselves down. Some weren't moving at all. I reached for my knife, standard issue M3 trench knife, strapped to my boot. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely grip it. Started sawing at the risers, trying to cut myself free without making noise, without falling and breaking my neck. A burst of machine gun fire erupted maybe 100 yards away, then screaming, Americans screaming. Someone had landed near a German position. Someone wasn't going to make it. I kept cutting, 1 riser down, 2, 3. Something moved in the bushes below me. I stopped, knife frozen mid-cut. German patrol? One of our guys? Couldn't tell. Couldn't see anything in the darkness except shadows and the occasional flash of tracer fire. The shape moved again. Closer, I could hear breathing now, heavy and labored. "Flash," I whispered. The password. If he answered thunder, he was American. Nothing. Just breathing. My rifle was strapped to my side, useless. Even if I could get to it, I couldn't shoot without giving away my position. So I waited, prayed, made promises to God I'd never keep. The shape passed beneath me. I caught a glimpse of a German helmet in the moonlight. He was looking up, searching the trees, looking for paratroopers. He walked right under me, stood there for maybe 30 seconds, head swiveling, rifle ready. I held my breath until my lungs burned, until black spots danced in my vision. Finally, he moved on, disappeared into the darkness. I started cutting again, faster now. Didn't care about the noise. Just needed to get down, needed to find the others, needed to not be hanging in a tree like bait. The last riser parted and I dropped. Tried to roll like they'd taught us, but landed wrong, ankle twisting under me. Pain shot up my leg, but I bit down on a scream. Couldn't make noise, couldn't give away my position. I lay there in the dirt and leaves, breathing hard, trying to get my bearings. My ankle was on fire, but I could move it. Sprained, probably. Could have been worse. Above me, Tommy Morrison was still hanging in his tree, not moving. In the faint light, I could see why. His chute had deployed inside out, a streamer. He'd hit the tree at full speed. His neck was bent at an angle that necks don't bend. See you on the ground, Bobby. Yeah, I saw him. I stayed under that tree for maybe an hour, maybe more. Time stopped meaning anything. Every sound was a German patrol. Every shadow was death. I clutched my rifle. Thank God it hadn't broken in the fall, and tried to figure out where the hell I was. Nothing looked familiar. The intelligence photos had shown fields and small villages. This was thick hedgerow country, ancient trees and stone walls and terrain that had stayed unchanged since medieval times. You couldn't see 20 feet in any direction. I heard a cricket, the toy kind, the little metal clicker they'd given us for identification. 2 clicks meant friendly. I clicked back twice. A shape emerged from the darkness. American Paratrooper, 101st patch on his shoulder. He looked as lost and scared as I felt. You hurt? He whispered. Twisted my ankle. You? I'm good. You know where we are? No idea. Me neither. He slid down next to me, back against the tree. His hands were shaking. I'm Danny. Danny Fletcher, Easy Company. Bobby Castellano, same. We sat there in silence for a minute, listening to the chaos around us. Gunfire everywhere, explosions, voices shouting in German and English and French. The whole invasion was a mess, scattered across miles of Norman countryside. What do we do? Danny asked. I didn't know. We were supposed to rally at the drop zone, link up with our units, move to our objectives. But I didn't know where the drop zone was. Didn't know where our objectives were. Didn't know where anything was except this tree and this hedgerow and this kid from Easy Company who was looking at me like I had answers. We find more guys, I said. Get a squad together. Then we figure it out. Over the next 2 hours, we found 4 more paratroopers. None of them were from our company. Hell, 2 weren't even from our regiment. 82nd Airborne guys who'd been dropped even further off course than we had. But they had rifles and they could shoot, so they were our squad now. 6 of us, lost somewhere in France, with no idea where our objectives were or where the enemy was. Just 6 scared kids trying not to die. We moved through the hedgerows like ghosts, using the stone walls for cover, stopping every 50 feet to listen. You learned fast that hedgerow fighting was its own special hell. Couldn't see more than a few yards. Every field was a fortress. Every stone wall could hide a machine gun nest. We stumbled onto a German patrol around dawn. Just walked right into each other around a corner in the hedgerow. They were as surprised as we were. Someone opened fire, don't know who. Suddenly everyone was shooting, muzzle flashes in the gray light, men screaming and falling. I emptied my rifle into a German soldier maybe 10 feet away, saw him go down, reloaded, kept shooting. When it was over, 3 Germans were dead. So was Danny Fletcher. Caught a burst right across the chest. Dead before he hit the ground. We left him there. Didn't have time to bury him. Didn't have time for anything but keep moving. We linked up with a larger group around noon. Maybe 30 guys, all from different units, all equally lost. A captain from the 502nd had taken charge. Guy named Miller, looked about 12 years old, but talked like he knew what he was doing. "We're moving toward Sainte-Mère-Église," he said. "The town's supposed to be secured." We regroup there, get our orders. Sainte-Mère-Église. I'd heard it in the briefing. Important crossroads. One of our primary objectives. We moved through the countryside in a loose skirmish line, checking every building, every field. Lost 2 more guys to sniper fire. Never even saw where the shots came from. Just crack, crack, and 2 men were down. The hedgerows were a nightmare. The Germans knew this terrain, had defensive positions everywhere. We'd clear one field and move to the next, and there'd be a machine gun waiting. We'd take casualties, fall back, try to flank, lose more men. It was slow, grinding, brutal work. I killed my first man face to face in a farmhouse outside some village whose name I never learned. Came around a doorway, and there he was, German soldier, young as me, maybe younger. We both froze for half a second. Then I shot him 3 times, center mass, like they'd taught us. He fell and I kept moving. Didn't stop, couldn't stop. If you stopped to think about what you'd just done, you'd break. By the time we reached Sainte-Mère-Église, we were down to 21 men. The town was a mess. Dead paratroopers hanging from trees and telephone poles, burnt-out buildings, bodies in the streets. The Germans had fought hard for it, but we'd taken it, barely. That's where I learned about the beach landings. The main invasion force had hit Omaha and Utah beaches at dawn. Omaha was a slaughterhouse. Thousands of casualties, guys pinned down under the cliffs, unable to advance. Utah had gone better, but was still a bloodbath. And we were supposed to be helping them, supposed to be securing roads and bridges and preventing German reinforcements. Instead, we were scattered across Normandy, fighting in small groups, trying to survive. I found out later that most of my stick, the guys I'd jumped with, were dead. Either killed in the air, drowned in flooded fields the Germans had created, or shot before they could get out of their chutes. Out of the 18 guys in Chalk 12, 6 made it through the first day. Tommy Morrison wasn't one of them. Neither was Danny Fletcher. Neither were a dozen other guys whose names I'd known, whose jokes I'd laughed at, whose families I'd heard about during training. They were just gone, like they'd never existed. That's when it hit me, sitting in a shattered church in Sainte-Mère-Église, eating cold K rations and drinking water from my canteen. This wasn't an adventure, wasn't glory, wasn't anything like what they'd promised. This was just killing and dying, and we were going to do it for as long as it took, however long that was. I stayed in France until August, fought through the hedgerows, through small villages with names I can't pronounce, through fields that looked like something from a postcard except for all the bodies. The Bocage campaign, they called it later. Weeks of grinding, brutal combat. The worst kind of fighting, close quarters, personal, no front lines, just chaos. We pushed inland, Carentan, Saint-Lô. Eventually we were pulled out, sent back to England to rest and refit. I made sergeant somewhere in there, not because I was particularly good at it, just because everyone above me died. Jumped again in Holland, Market Garden, another disaster, more friends dead. Then Bastogne, the Bulge, that frozen hell where we held the line against everything the Germans threw at us. I survived. Don't know how. Don't know why me instead of Tommy or Danny or any of the other guys who were better soldiers, better men. Came home in 45. There was a parade, ticker tape, pretty girls, everyone cheering for the heroes who'd won the war. I stood there in my dress uniform with my jump wings and my medals and smiled for the cameras. Inside, I was still hanging in that tree in Normandy, watching Tommy Morrison's body swing in the wind. I tried to adjust, got married to a girl from the neighborhood, had 3 kids, worked construction, built a decent life, or at least the appearance of one. But the war never left, never. I couldn't sleep with the lights off, couldn't stand loud noises. 4th of July was torture. The fireworks sounded too much like artillery. I'd hit the ground sometimes, couldn't help it, while my kids watched and my wife tried to explain to the neighbors that Daddy had been in the war. The nightmares were constant, always the same ones. Hanging in the tree, Tommy's broken neck, the German soldier in the farmhouse, the look on his face in that split second before I killed him. Danny Fletcher bleeding out in the hedgerow. I started drinking in the 50s, lost my job in the 60s. Marriage fell apart not long after. My kids don't talk to me much anymore. Can't blame them. I wasn't much of a father. Hard to be present when you're still fighting a war that ended 20 years ago. People ask me about D-Day sometimes. Want to hear war stories. Want to know what it was like to jump into France, to be part of the greatest invasion in history. I tell them it was fine, that we did our job, that we won. I don't tell them about hanging in a tree waiting to die. Don't tell them about watching friends get killed before they hit the ground. Don't tell them about the German kid I shot in a farmhouse who probably had a mother somewhere who waited for him to come home. I don't tell them that I landed in Normandy on June 6, 1944, but I never really left. Part of me is still there, still hanging in that tree, still 21 years old and scared shitless, still watching Tommy Morrison die. The veteran organizations have reunions every year. I don't go. Can't stand to see the other survivors, the ones who made it. Can't stand the way we look at each other, the understanding in our eyes, the knowledge that we're all still fighting that war. They gave me medals, Bronze Star, Purple Heart, French Legion of Honor. They're in a box somewhere. My ex-wife probably threw them out when I moved out. Doesn't matter. Tommy Morrison deserved those medals more than I did. So did Danny Fletcher. So did all the guys who didn't make it. I just happened to survive. That's not heroism. That's luck. Bad luck, maybe, because the ones who died don't have to remember. I'm 63 now. My ankle still hurts when it rains. Souvenir from that landing. My hands shake. I see VA doctors who give me pills that don't work and talk about trauma and healing. There's no healing, not from this. 22 years since D-Day. Feels like yesterday. Feels like forever. I landed in a tree in Normandy and I never came down. None of us did.